Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity with me, Bring It On. Gonna finish exploring Wooden Plains, and then we're gonna head to Defiance Bay. Alright, you chose the wrong party to mess with, buddy.
Brave thou Philoculi.
Yeah.
What?
Alright, we'll cut it straight across this way. Sparrow's nest is tucked between two angled slats. Shh. Seems like a good place for a hidden object. Go stealth, fast mode, and just circle around the house. Perform our due diligence. Alright, seems clear to me. Alright, looks like we're done here. Let's head to Defiance Bay. Did I never check a western exit? I'm usually pretty good about that. Or so I thought. There we go. Craddock Bridgman, living up to his name. Commoner. More commoners. They're everywhere. Also living up to their namesake. Welcome to Defiance Bay. Watch yourself in our city. Understand? I do not.
Hello? Hello?
Alright, Justiciar Forgant as a unique name. Let's speak to him.
Good day, stranger.
What can I do for you? What can you tell me about Defiance Bay? Sorry, I don't have time right now. It sounds like that Dozens crackpot Rowan is stirring up trouble again. He jerks his head at the gate. He'd be all too happy to give you a rundown of the city. Liberally flavored with Dozens propaganda, of course. I'm looking for the Temple of Wodiga. He scratches his beard. Not sure why you'd want to go there. He shrugs. It's in First Fires, if you really want to see it. You seem to be on edge. What's the problem? Thousands of them, truth be told. We got refugees coming in from all parts, under some misguided notion that things are actually better here, that the legacy somehow passed us over. They show up with no prospects and little money, and just end up making a worse mess of things. He looks you up and down. No offense. And goodbye. He grunts. And good luck to you. Alright, in we go. To Copper Lane.
Defiance Bay, the city at the heart of the Deerwoods Revolution, now seems on the brink of another. Refugees line the streets, homeless and hungry, displaced by Whiterun's legacy, hoping for relief within the city walls, and finding none. Dissidents congregate to protest and to heckle, calling for an end to animancy and the ouster of their duke. The city's militiamen cast fearful looks as they patrol the streets, their hands trembling at the hilts of their weapons. The capital of a country that had not long ago incinerated a god now appears to be a spark away from sharing the deity's fate.
Alright, it's a pretty large area. Let's get started. Cat.
Keeping quiet.
Defiance Bay. If ever there was a dry field in need of a cleansing flame, you have found it.
Alright, so Rowan is who we were told to speak to.
Light, flame, and sound. We'll keep to ourselves.
His animancers have brought divine wrath upon us all.
Flame and sound.
And yet the Duke and his toadies and the Crucible Knights do nothing.
Ourselves.
We allow these atrocities to continue unchecked. No! Down with the animancy. Whiterun's legacy was one warning, Heritage Hill was another. Oh, I didn't see the period there. Spread the word. Together we'll drive the blight of animancy from our city. I'm not sure if this is the guy I want to talk to.
Hail, traveler.
Rowan's arms are crossed. His mouth is set in a grim frown as he watches the gathered protesters. He looks ready for a fight. He sizes you up. New in town, eh? You picked an interesting time to visit Defiance Bay. All these refugees fleeing the frontier find the legacy's no better here. It's the Animancers. Mogren scorched them. They nest in this city like rats. You mark my words, though. Us dozens are going to put a stop to it. What are you doing out here? He gestures at the crowd, which buzzes with angry chatter. Try to get folk to see reason. We're in the midst of a crisis, and instead of purging the nefarious forces from our city, the Duke is granting Animancers dangerous liberties. What do you know about animancy? It's a study and manipulation of essence, which any sane person will tell you is a purview of the gods. The Adirians at least had the sense to outlaw it, which is the only good thing you can say about them. It's not like magic, chanting, or the soul readings those ciphers do. It's been around since ancient Ingwithan times, which is why you'll see animancers tinkering with old Ingwithan artifacts. Kana raises a fist to cough discreetly into it. Half-truths all. He's an enthusiastic performer. I'll give him that. He shakes his head. Trouble is, the Animancers got no idea what half those artifacts actually do. Not that they'll admit it. Our emphatic friend is correct about one thing at least. Tell me about the dozens. He taps his chest. We're an organization of interested citizens who want to free Defiance Bay from the dangerous influence of Animancers and the tyranny of the aristocrats who support them. We also consider ourselves a militia of sorts, since the Crucible Knights are little more than a flock of preening nobles in training these days. Just like a militia, the dozens. Except for the training, and the discipline, and the code of honor. His eyes gleam. We're always looking to expand. The more people see things our way, the better for the state of the country. If you have any interest in hearing more, stop by Admeth's Den sometime. The Expedition Hall. A lot of free thinkers in there. Set straight all the nonsense the nobles and the Animancers want you to believe. Might even be some paid work there for motivated types. I'd like to know more about Defiance Bay. This is the capital of the free Palatinate of the Deerwood. We started out as the capital of an Adirian colony. We booted the Flaccid Scepter from these lands 150 years ago. These days, we're a major port receiving trade and visitors from all over the world. But we, some of us anyway, strive to hold on to the pioneering spirit that earned us our freedom a century and a half ago. The city is divided into 5 districts: Copper Lane, First Fires, Hunter's Gift, Brackenbury, and Heritage Hill. He ticks each off on a calloused finger. Tell me about Copper Lane. This here is Copper Lane. He taps a scuffed boot on the cobblestones. It's primarily a market district, but you've also got the Expedition Hall directly north of here, where you can join treks into the wilds. That's also where my fellow dozens martyrs and I tend to meet up with other concerned citizens. He points to a long dome building west and north of your position. That's the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Very place, you ask me. They've got the biggest library in the Deerwood. Kana laughs. Eerie indeed. Might be less so if more kith stepped inside. Perhaps we ought to visit Donald and see just what mysteries are revealed. Tell me about Brackenbury. A noise of disgust rattles in his throat. The nobility that didn't sail back to Adir stayed there. Most of the families there trace their lineage back to old imperial times. Other than a lot of has-been nobility, you got Hadred House, where Lady Webb and her spies operate, and Brackenbury Sanitarium, main cesspit of animancy in the city. He spits on the cobblestones. Tell me about First Fires. That's where the revolution started, hence the name. These days it's overrun with politicians and panderers, but we'll take it back someday. That's where you find the Ducal Palace, the Valiant Embassy, and Crucible Keep. He shakes his head. Crucible Knights were the original freedom fighters in Defiance Bay, and now they're just strutting peacocks with their eyes on fancy titles and their heads up their butts. There's an old temple of Wotica there too. We keep it real nice for her. He winks. Tell me about Andra's Gift. Got the name because it was a wetland that was drained back in the Imperial days. Now, it's a seedy district populated by sailors, common folk, and more than a few thugs. But it's a fun place too, if you know where to look. He winks and elbows you. Look for a place called the Salty Mast when you're there. Other than that, it's mostly warehouses and abandoned homes. Tell me about Heritage Hill. He shivers. Used to be one of the more prestigious districts in the city. Heroes of the Revolution claim plots up there, next to an ancient Inquithan tower in the city cemetery. Had the best views in Defiance Bay. Attracts richer types these days. A lot of animancy patrons. He spits. He glances at the crowd and lowers his voice. You wouldn't have heard, but something happened over there a couple months ago. The authorities sealed it off. They're keeping their mouths shut. But mark my words, animancy's to blame. Alright, never mind. Let's talk about something else. What do you want to know? Farewell. Alright, we've got a rundown of the city. A gist of its history. And points of interest to explore.
Slow and silent.
We can go that way. We can cross the bridge. The Goose and Fox. We'll explore around the outside before we start exploring inside the buildings. It's Peregrine. Golden Woman bounces up and down at your approach. Remember me? Went by Modmer Bridge. She slaps you playfully on the shoulder. Thanks for helping me out back there. As promised, I give you the best prices in town. If it weren't for you, I'd still be broke. Show me your wares. Alright, nothing super ideal.
Yeah.
Oh, new dialogue. Adventuring supplies. You need them? I have them. The little woman says with a smile. Here to see my selection. Nope, I just took a gander. We'll speak to Laura. The young woman stands by a cart, watching the crowd with large, bright eyes that focus on you as you approach. Take your time, traveler. Looking for enchanted scrolls or garb, you've come to the right place. Show me your wares. Seal of Faith. That's a +1 first level spell, second and third. It's pretty good. A little pricey. This thick iron band is dented and scratched and appears to have seen much use. It is studded with 11 small beads, one for each of the gods. It was created by an Adirian priest to remind him of his devotion, particularly in the heat of battle. It is said that, feeling his fingers rub against the beads, say a quick prayer to each of the gods, who blessed him in return. And Telda's Ring. For wizards, 2 second level spell uses, and 1 fourth level spell use, which we don't have 4th level spells yet. It's also a little pricey. Can't afford any of this anyway. Alright, Telda's Ring. The Elven Wizard of Adir, Telda was forever frustrated by the limits of her own considerable powers. After spending almost 2 centuries mastering most of the spells known to Kith, she found that her greatest challenge lay not with her repertoire, but her inability to make more frequent use of her magic. She spent the last century of her life studying a means to amplify her abilities. When at last she developed the spell she needed, she had built it into this ring so that the prudent wizard need not cast a spell to make use of it.
Yeah.
Alright, Narmer.
Hail, traveler.
The merchant smiles brightly. Well met, traveler. Are you interested in purchasing any rations for your journeys? Show me your wares. Dragon meat. First thing on the menu. Igrin.
Gods keep you.
Igrin stands behind a stall, polishing a broadsword. The patterned flesh around his eyes is crinkled with age. The muscles in his arms are knotty and lean, but he holds the weapon with ease. He nods at you. Come to take a look. You won't find a finer collection of armor and weaponry in Defiance Bay. Outside Solnodes, of course. He flashes a crooked grin. What's so special about Sonode? She operates in the Expedition Hall. He jerks a thumb over his shoulder. Sells the best equipment in the city, but Wenin keeps her on a short leash. Keeps her fine inventory reserved for chartered expeditionists, members of the Dozens, and anyone else he takes a liking to. Let me see what you have for sale. A couple of unique items. Let's see. Anything? Ooh. Oh, never mind. Okay. Take a gander. So, Borisane. Unique warbow. +4 accuracy, +15% damage. And then 20% of damage restored as endurance. And attacks can stun on crits. The Dwarven clan of Longmere. Yeah, looks like I said that right. Dwelt in the wilds of Nostitok, hunting game and surviving off the harsh land. Summers were brief and winters difficult, but the winter of 2562 AI was one of the hardest in the tribe's long history. A mighty snow leopard had established territory nearby, scaring off much of the game near the village. By Fenoten, hunters were returning with little more than rabbits, and the winter freeze was nigh. A dozen of the best hunters stuck out across the tundra, determined to hunt the great cat. The beast was craftier than they'd planned, and in Averno, half of the hunters and most of their hunting foxes had been slain without so much as wounding the leopard. Desperate and furious, one of the hunters crafted a bow from their bones of her slain fox. As her remaining companions looked on, it seemed that all of her rage was channeled into the weapon while she carved and shaped it. Her work completed, she set off and tracked the beast to its lair. Once she killed it, she decorated her bow with its teeth as a reminder of the deed and of the long and tragic hunt. Now black with age and use, this bow is nevertheless fierce to behold. It's studded with the teeth of a large cat, the notches curve in the right tight spirals. The notches, yeah, I read that right. The Lady's Hand. Unique scepter, two-handed. +4 accuracy, plus 15% damage. Plus an accuracy when below 50% endurance. Plus 20% damage while endurance below 50%. 20% of grazes converted to hits. The slender steel scepter is topped with a gilded, feminine hand, each finger ending in a delicate mother-of-pearl nail. It was forged and crafted by the smiths and artisans of Delwyn, a small town in the foothills of the Mogmere Mountains, the southern reaches of the Adir Empire. The recipient was Lady Ryga Adalwyn, 3rd Margrave of Mogonin, who had recently emerged victorious from a brutal campaign against her march by barbarians and agents of a rival family. In leading the defense of the march, Lady Ryga had lost her left hand. The Emperor had this scepter created to reward her sacrifice during the protection of what was then the Empire's southernmost territory. Unfortunately for the Adalwyn family, they only held the Mogonin territories for 2 more generations. With little money and no land, the family set out for the young colonies of the Deerwood. Lady's Hand saw renewed use in battle by Brandon Adalwyn, Thane of the Low Meadows during the War of Black Trees. There, Brandon used it to defeat Glenfathan warriors and spirit-animated trees that are marching out of the deep woods. For his service to the colonies, Brandon was made an Earl of the new territory of Blackstand. But bad luck struck the Adalwyn family twice. Only a year after establishing a fort on the frontier, Brandon was ambushed by Glenfathan resistance fighters. Finishing their main mission, the assassins then pursued his small family and killed every member, leaving no heirs to the House of Adalwyn. Following the reinforcements of Blackstand's fort by its new Earl, the Adalwyn family's belongings were distributed according to the known wishes of Brandon. Notably, the Lady's Hand, his great-great-grandmother's gift from the Emperor, was bequeathed to Sir Harig Cardoff, minor knight of New Heomar, alongside whom Brandon had fought in the War of Black Trees. More comfortable with sword and shield than scepter and grimoire, Sir Harig displayed his friend's gift prominently in his home, but it never saw use in battle again. Alright, Lost Thane's Reach. Unique pike, two-handed. The reach weapon, so extra reach, plus 4 accuracy, plus 15% damage. It inflicts minus 5 accuracy for 5 seconds on hit. Lost Thane's Reach was once wielded by Thane Salmar Sanahiad of the Grasp. While engaged in a skirmish against some Glenfathan rebels at the outskirts of New Heomar, Salmar cornered their leader at the edge of a cliff. The rebels quickly interposed themselves between Thane Salmar and their leader, seeking to prevent Salmar from striking the final blow. A skilled pikeman, Salmar was able to foul every effort to strike him, and he ultimately dealt the rebel leader a mortal wound. Unfortunately, the pike's hooked blade became snagged upon the dying elf's armor, pulling Salmar over the edge of the cliff with his foe. And Shatterstar, unique warhammer, plus 4 accuracy, plus 15% damage, plus 0.5 to crit damage multiplier, and plus 1 enemies engaged. While around Eora, tales circulate about fabulous weapons fashioned from stones that fall from the heavens. Once believed to be gifts from the gods, and so often seen as such, these stones are now known to be meteorites. Even so, items crafted from them remain precious. Shatterstar was a hammer forged from a solid block of palisite that was discovered by one of Eothas' faithful shortly after Saint Widewind rose to power and Riadceris. It was crafted into a weapon and carried at the head of the Riadcerian army during the Widewind's march on the Deerwood. As such, it was believed lost at the Godhammer Citadel. The head of the hammer is iron and nickel, laced with yellow and orange crystals. It's held in place by a bronze band joined two softly jingling rings. Then there was a unique piece of armor. There we go. Pike's Pride. So minus 50% stun duration, minus 50% knockdown duration, and plus 9 will. According to a family of fishmongers, one young Adiran decided that he would give up the family trade and take up the sword instead. He swore that he would find greater fortune than ever was bestowed upon his family. When he sought out opportunities to prove himself, however, he was often scorned, for he came from low-born stock, and his line had achieved little of note. Discouraged, the lad returned home, only to find that his family, eager to see him achieve his wishes, had pulled what coin they had to commission a suit of armor that might keep him safe. The lad asked the smith to craft a set of gleaming scale armor, bright as the flashing scales of a fish, and just as light and quick. He called it Pike's Pride. While he wore it, he found himself immune to whatever foul words his detractors might level at him. Alright, so I do plan on buying Shatterstar. And the Lady's Hand is probably worth getting for Aloth. Now, what am I getting Thane's Reach for Kana? Have I selected a weapon group for Kana yet? I don't remember. No, I have not. Perfect. I do want to give him a reach weapon. Because he has that AoE heal with his chance. So I want to make sure he's in range and utilizing that. And also, the Thunder rolled like Waves on Black Seas is a little bit closer. I don't want to have to constantly move him up and position him to use it.
And what does the flame reveal?
Let's see what lies this way.
Alright, so this isn't marked on the map. I might go in there before we continue exploring. Just so I don't forget about it. But either way, oh, Adair wants to speak. Alright, so we'll start off by speaking to him next time. But for now, I'm going to call it here. And in the next episode, we'll speak to Adair and continue exploring Copper Lane. And go from there. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in... Oh, wait. Before I forget, I was about to wrap up. There's another helmet.
Hail and well met.
Or, there we go. Alright. The Dunrid Demon, plus 2 intellect. The cost. Can't afford that either. A Coswin was one of the Brishogwin of Eru Glonfoth. Received training from Dear Wooden Animancers around 2785 AI. When Dunrid Row was founded 15 years later, it was one of the first ciphers to join. Relatively old for an Orlan, she was one of its most enthusiastic and capable agents. Known as the Dunrid Demon, she was ruthlessly methodical and infamous throughout the Defiance Bay, prowling the streets in her helmet, searching for clues and connections. At the end of the Saints' War, she was over 40, and she was sent to the Godhammer Citadel to search for traces of Saint Widewin. She never arrived, and years later, the helmet was found on the road from Echo Bay. Alright, now I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.